thank you so much for being. I'm so grateful to be back doing interviews. It's great.
Fantastic. That is a great positive note to start on. Afterglow, a Christmas present, Bad Habits, I'm back. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, Afterglow was one of these things. It was in my music folder for ages, and I was like, I don't know where this lives. And I've had fans for years and years and years being like, we just want you to make songs like Plus again. And I was like, do you know what? Have this. So it was more of a it was basically a present for the fans, essentially.
In my head, when I was thinking of how your comeback happens, I imagined it. There's a big red phone in a studio far underground, and you go down and you pick it up the phone. You're like, I'm coming back. You hang up and everything else goes into overdrive. So how close is that to the mark?
Mate, like quite far actually, because I've been trying to come back for months and months and months, but I just have my record label, my manager just nudging me for more songs. They're just like, come on, some more. Because last time what happened is I finished the album and then they nudged me, and then Shape of You came out. And then the time before that was finishing the album, they nudged me and Thinking Out Loud came out. So this time, every time I think I finish the album, I get more nudges and nudges and nudges. So I've actually been ready for a while, but then they nudged me and Bad Habits came out, and then now here we are.
What drives the creativity? Is it get one song, then another one comes, another one comes? Where do you go? Where's your source of inspiration? Or does it just come to you and you don't have that thought process? Where am I getting this creativity from?
I think it depends what kind. I think the songs that make my album are like always like weird experiences that just pop out of sessions that I wasn't expecting to write an album song. I go in and write songs a lot, and a lot of time they're just like standard pop songs for other people that, you know, don't necessarily have any deep, meaningful thing. They're just fun. But yeah, every now and then I'm either in one of those sessions and an idea will come, or, you know, like I had a friend pass away in March and flew over for his funeral in Australia in quarantine, but I had a guitar in quarantine. So I wrote like quite a lot of songs then, because I was sort of coming to terms with his death and feeling like grief has made me into an adult. It was like a weird experience, but yeah, stuff like that. Or even, you know, me and my wife had a daughter last year, and you'll be like halfway through changing a nappy or something like that and be like, oh, that's a good idea, and then go down and like write. So inspiration just comes at different times.
Well, sorry to hear that about your friend, first of all, because that's a really tough thing to go through. And especially, like, God, the journey to Australia, knowing that you're going over for a funeral is very, very tough. And I think just to pick up on something you said there about kind of making you an adult, that grief experience. So that's such a flip side of the other very happy life experiences you've had that kind of show you into adulthood as well.
Yeah, well, I found the last 18 months, I mean, since ending tour, I mean, tour ended. I remember stepping off stage at Ipswich after, you know, and it'd been heavily publicized that it was the biggest tour of all time, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of stepped off stage on the last gig and was like, well, I need to actually come to terms with, like, that's the peak and it's never going to get bigger than that. And like, actually from here, it might all go downhill. So from there, I kind of was going into my 30s. My wife then told me she was pregnant. I was like, oh God, like, I'm like, suddenly I'm not in my 20s and I'm at this kind of crossroads in my career. And then my friend dies, my daughter is born. And at all of this time, I was like, sort of feeling like this is probably what being an adult is. And yeah, and I think it is. I really feel like grief is something that makes it, depending on, it doesn't really matter what age you are, but you grow up into an adult as soon as that happens, I feel.
Not to make this totally personal between the two of us and pull back from this if you wish, but I lost my grandfather at the end of March as well. And I thought I knew what pain and grief was, but it's not till it hits you that you go, wow, this is something completely different.
And it's one of these things that you don't realize. Like, I kind of thought I'd not over it, but, you know, I'd had the, I'm sure you had it with your grandfather as well. You go to the funeral and there's closure and you have this like, okay, that's that. And then I found I talk about him like a lot to people just to kind of keep the memory alive. And I just found myself in conversation with someone the other day and you just burst into tears. And then suddenly you catch yourself 15 seconds into crime, and then it's totally back to normal. It's like grief is just something that I didn't realize how dormant it is, and every now and then it just pops up and then goes back in. It's a very new experience for me.
Yeah, it's there. It's like, hello, you're terribly sad now. You were experiencing great feelings one moment ago, and then it gets back. But I think it helps with the process.
I'm sorry about your grandfather, man.
Thank you, and I'm very sorry about your friend. I never knew what grief was, but moving on from that, and there's never an easy transition from speaking about grief to new music, but Bad Habits, totally different, going to surprise a lot of people. I'm telling you, man, you're back and you're changing the game again.
I wouldn't say I'm changing the game, but thank you. I feel like I'm changing my game. I've never made a tune like this. I love playing it to people and they don't know it's me. Like halfway through, my friends will be like, wait, is this you? And it's Fred, the producer, got me to basically whisper it, like really quietly. And then he turned it up super loud and just had it pumping. And I think it's great to do something that I haven't done before. I feel like when I did Shape of You, I felt very uncomfortable about putting that out. And when it came out, my fans were like, I mean, I know you give me that look now, but because it's been a hit, but at the time it was like, oh God, are people going to like this? This is really different to anything I've done before. And so I trust what people around me say. So people think Bad Habits is great and I've written it. I'm happy with it. So it's going out.
I think what I took from it was it kind of ticks the boxes for what we want after the year and a half that we've had, because it's a dancing tune, it's a road trip tune, I would say, and it's a summer tune. So like that is a real success to combine all those, given the year that we've had. People are like, yes, this is the tune we want to emerge out of lockdown from.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that was the sort of driving force with it coming out now. So my first single was always going to come out in June. And originally the first single was a bit more acoustic and depressing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I wouldn't want to hear this on the radio in June. I would love to hear Bad Habits on the radio in June because it's just a bit more upbeat, even if there's a dark undertone to it as well. But it hopefully will make people dance.
Don't worry, Ed. Afterglow is still on high rotation on iRadio in June.
Good. But oddly, that song sounds depressing, but it's a very upbeat song compared to if you actually read the lyrics to Bad Habits and read the lyrics to Afterglow. Like one's like pretty dark and one's just a love song, but they just sound sonically different.
Here's a question I've always wanted to ask an artist. You speak about Shape of You and the nervousness of releasing that. It's odd hearing that now when it is such a big hit. But has there been a song of yours that hasn't landed the way you expected or didn't do as well as you expected? And you're like, hey, yes, give this more attention.
Yes, so many. But though, like, no one remembers those ones. Everyone always remembers the high points. They never remember the songs that don't work. So yeah, I've gone through, even on the collaborations record, like, and I didn't even put, that was like a month's worth of time of making it. And then I didn't really do any interviews or TV stuff. So I'd never expected it to be as big as Divide or Multiply, whatever. But there were some songs on there that I was like, this is going to go. And then it, just no one's interested.
Can you give us one specifically so we can do it justice and go, hey, Ed Sheeran thinks you should think more of this song?
No, because each song has a featured artist on it, and I don't want to put them on blast.
We love that. Ed Sheeran inadvertently starting a feud with his collaborators.
No, but I think it's just, I think for me actually, like, I think my fan base like me for me, and the other artist fan base like them for them, but me and them together, like, it doesn't necessarily always work. But for me, I wanted to make songs with people that I liked, and I feel like I made a cool project that I like.
Ed, we have to wrap up, and we could speak to you for an hour and a half, but quick fire questions. There will be an album, there will be a tour, and will you return to Galway? Because the Galway hurlers and footballers haven't had luck in Salt Hill since you left.
Yeah, I'll be back, and hopefully doing some shows. We're actually, all the shows are booked. We're ready to go, but we just got to wait to see if gigs can happen again.
I feel like I must take issue with, as a Galway woman, I need to defend the honour of the Galway's hurlers, footballers, ladies footballers and camogie team. We're great. We're great. We're not blaming Ed Sheeran.
Nah, ever since you played in Salt Hill, Ed, everything has gone downhill for Galway.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I'll see you next time I'm over.
Here we go.
Music, lifestyle,
Entertainment,
news, sports.
iRadio. Live life louder.